She came home just after sunrise, still wearing the same emerald dress she'd left in the night before. Her heels dangled from 2 fingers, her makeup had faded around the edges, and the perfume that drifted through the hallway wasn't the one she usually wore. I stood at the kitchen sink with a coffee mug growing cold between my hands, staring through the window as if the maple tree outside held answers that my marriage no longer could. "You're awake," she said, forcing a smile. "I never went to sleep." She looked away before our eyes could meet. Emily needed me. She had a breakdown. Emily, her younger sister. The excuse arrived too quickly, polished from overuse. I texted. At 3 in the morning. I know. Silence settled between us like dust over forgotten furniture. My name is Hannah, and for 12 years I believed love was something you protected with patience. I defended my wife, Claire, against everyone who questioned her late nights, sudden business trips, and growing distance. My parents told me I was making excuses. My older brother, Daniel, called me blind. Even my best friend, Nora, once asked, "When was the last time she looked at you the way you look at her?" I laughed it off. Until that morning. Claire disappeared into the shower without another word. I noticed she had left her phone charging on the kitchen counter. It buzzed. Once. Then again. I wasn't someone who invaded privacy. At least I hadn't been before trust began dying by inches. The screen lit up with a preview. "Last night was perfect. Can't stop thinking about you. No name. Just a heart." My stomach tightened so violently I thought I might be sick. Another message appeared. Did she suspect anything? I locked the phone without opening it further. For several minutes I simply stood there, listening to the shower running upstairs. Every excuse I'd made for her over the last 2 years returned like broken glass. Working late. Networking dinners. Phone always face down. Weekend conferences. Birthdays forgotten. Anniversaries rushed. The woman who once couldn't spend an afternoon away from me now barely noticed whether I came home. She walked downstairs 20 minutes later dressed for work as though nothing had happened. "You okay?" she asked. "No." She paused. "I think we need to talk tonight." Her shoulders stiffened for only a second before she smiled again. "Of course." She kissed my cheek. It felt like a stranger borrowing someone else's lips. I didn't go to work. Instead, I drove to the small cafe where Nora managed the morning shift. The moment she saw me, she removed her apron. What happened? I hadn't realized tears were already running down my face. "I think she's cheating." Nora didn't answer immediately. Instead, she closed the office door behind us. "Hannah." The hesitation in her voice terrified me more than any confession could have. "What?" "I didn't want to hurt you." My heartbeat slowed. "When?" "I've seen her." My mouth went dry. "Seen her where?" "Twice. Maybe 3 times." "With who?" "I don't know his name." The room began spinning. "I thought maybe they were coworkers." "You should have told me." "I know. You should have told me." She started crying too. "I was afraid you'd stop speaking to me." I slid into the chair. Everyone knew except me. Everyone. By noon I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. When people imagine betrayal, they picture screaming. They picture broken plates. They picture dramatic exits. The truth is quieter. It's sitting in your parked car unable to remember how you got there. It's reading old anniversary cards wondering which promises were lies from the beginning. It's realizing you've been mourning a marriage that technically hasn't ended yet. I arrived home before Claire. I opened my laptop. Every bank account. Every investment. Every mortgage payment. Every insurance document. For years I'd handled our finances because Claire hated paperwork. At first I simply wanted distraction. Then something unusual caught my attention. A transfer. $35,000. Another. $20,000. Then 12. Each marked as consulting expenses. Except we didn't own a consulting business. I checked the destination account. Unknown. My hands began shaking. Over the last 11 months, more than $100,000 had quietly disappeared. Not stolen overnight. Drained slowly, carefully, patiently. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It had been financial. Someone had been planning something. I printed everything. Every transfer. Every receipt. Every statement. Then I opened the home security app. Months earlier I'd installed outdoor cameras after several neighborhood break-ins. One camera overlooked our driveway. I searched last night's recordings. At 6:42 p.m., Claire left. At 6:58, instead of turning toward Emily's neighborhood, her car headed in the opposite direction. She never even attempted to visit her sister. At 7:31, another vehicle entered the parking lot of a boutique hotel across town. The camera couldn't follow beyond the street, but the GPS history attached to our insurance app quietly recorded the route. Boutique hotel. Stayed there until 6:18 that morning. I closed the laptop. Oddly, I felt calm. The truth had finally stopped hiding. Now it was waiting for me. Claire came home carrying takeout. I figured we could have dinner together. I smiled. Surprised both of us. That's thoughtful. She relaxed immediately. We're okay. I looked at the woman I'd built 12 years around. The woman who had emptied our savings while lying to my face. The woman who believed I still knew nothing. Yes, I said softly. We're going to have a very important conversation. She smiled with visible relief. I'll change first. As she walked upstairs, my eyes drifted toward the printer where every document lay neatly stacked beside a blank sheet of paper. I picked up a pen. For the first time all day, my hand was perfectly steady. Instead of writing accusations, I wrote only one sentence. Asterisk, I'm leaving. Good luck with your plan. Asterisk. Then I folded the letter, placed it on the kitchen table where she couldn't miss it, and quietly slipped the folder containing every financial record into my bag before walking out the front door, already knowing that disappearing for one night would make her reveal far more than confronting her ever could. I parked 3 streets away from our house and turned off the engine. My pulse echoed through the silent car as morning sunlight slowly faded into the soft gold of evening. Every instinct begged me to march back inside, throw every bank statement onto the table, and demand an explanation. But the part of me that had spent years quietly observing people whispered something different. People reveal their true intentions when they believe no one is watching. I waited. At exactly 6:14 p.m., Claire's phone began ringing. She answered almost immediately. I just got home, she said. Even through the small directional microphone connected to the security system I'd installed months earlier, I could hear the excitement in her voice. No, she isn't here. A pause. She left. Another pause. Yes, she actually left me a note. My fingers tightened around my phone. I opened the live security feed. Claire unfolded my letter. Her face drained of color. Then unexpectedly she laughed. Actually laughed. I told you she'd finally break. Another voice answered through speakerphone. Male. Deep. Confident. I knew she would. Claire lowered her voice. Come over. I'll be there in 20. I think the house is finally ours. Those 6 words shattered something inside me. Not because of the affair. Because she'd already decided my home belonged to someone else. I stayed perfectly still. 23 minutes later, a silver SUV pulled into my driveway. A tall man stepped out carrying a leather briefcase as though he owned the place. Claire opened the front door before he even knocked. She kissed him. Not nervously. Not guiltily. Comfortably. Like they had done it hundreds of times. He was older than I expected. Mid-40s. Expensive watch. Perfect haircut. Tailored navy suit. He walked inside without hesitation. I zoomed in through the living room camera. Claire wrapped her arms around him. It's happening. I told you patience pays. When can we sell everything? As soon as the divorce is filed. My breathing stopped. He opened his briefcase and removed several folders. I've already prepared the paperwork. Claire smiled. I love how organized you are. He kissed her forehead. And I love ambitious women. I took screenshots of everything. Every frame. Every document visible on the table. Every affectionate gesture. Then another person arrived. Not someone I expected. My younger cousin, Mark. He walked straight inside without knocking. What took you so long? Claire asked. Traffic. He grinned. I brought the appraisal. Appraisal? He spread blueprints across the dining table. This property has appreciated almost 60%. The man nodded. Excellent. Mark tapped one page. Once Hannah signs the transfer, we renovate and flip. Claire smirked. She'll sign. The man chuckled. People sign anything when they feel guilty. I froze. Guilty? Claire folded her arms. That's why we spent months convincing her the business was struggling. Mark laughed. And those fake investment losses. I can't believe she believed every spreadsheet. 3 people. 3 people had been planning this. The missing money. The fake consulting expenses. The emotional distance. It wasn't random. It was preparation. I suddenly remembered every conversation from the past year. Claire insisting we combine every account. Encouraging me to refinance the mortgage. Convincing me to give Mark temporary access because he was helping with taxes. Every decision had benefited them. Never me. Nora called. Hannah. I know everything. What happened? They're together. Silence. There are 3 of them. What? My own cousin. She gasped. Oh my God. I'm not going back. What are you going to do? I stared at the glowing screen. No. What? I'm not running anymore. I drove away before anyone noticed. Instead of checking into a hotel, I drove to Daniel's house. He opened the door wearing old sweatpants and holding a wrench. The moment he saw my face, he didn't ask questions. He simply hugged me. I cried harder than I had all day. After nearly an hour, I finally explained everything. The affair. The money. The house. The recordings. Daniel listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back quietly. They made one mistake. What? They assumed you're emotional. I am emotional. Yes. He smiled. But you're also smarter than all 3 of them. I laughed weakly. It doesn't feel like it. It will. He disappeared into his office and returned carrying a business card. Remember Olivia? The attorney? Not just an attorney. He smiled. She's the nastiest forensic financial lawyer in the state. Nasty. The legal kind. I called the next morning. Olivia met me that afternoon. She spent nearly 3 hours reviewing every document I'd collected. Every transfer. Every recording. Every screenshot. Finally, she removed her glasses. Hannah. What? Do not contact your wife. I wasn't planning to. Good. She tapped the folders. They think they're stealing from you. They are. She smiled. No. I frowned. What do you mean? She turned one document toward me. Whose name appears on the deed? Both of ours. And who inherited the original down payment from your grandmother? I did. And whose family trust funded the renovations? My grandfather's. She nodded. They've built their entire scheme around one assumption. What assumption? That they understand your finances. They don't. Olivia's smile widened. Not even close. She opened another folder. Then another. Finally, she looked directly into my eyes. They've been moving money. Yes. They've committed fraud. I suspected that. She leaned forward. Hannah. My heartbeat quickened. They've unknowingly left a paper trail so complete that, if we play this correctly, every lie they've told over the last year will become evidence against them. For the first time since Claire walked through that front door wearing yesterday's dress, I felt something stronger than heartbreak. Hope. Olivia closed the final folder. I'd like to wait just a little longer. Why? Because greedy people always make one last mistake. And if we let them, they won't just lose the house. She smiled calmly. They'll lose everything. I looked down at the copies of my letter resting beside the evidence binder. When I'd written * I'm leaving. Good luck with your plan * I thought I was saying goodbye to my marriage. Now I realized I'd actually invited them to expose the entire conspiracy themselves, and they had only just begun. The following Monday, Claire filed for divorce. Olivia had warned me she would move quickly, but watching the notification appear in my email still felt surreal. 12 years together had been reduced to legal paperwork that had obviously been prepared long before I ever left the house. She's following the script, Olivia said calmly. What script? The one she and her boyfriend spent months writing. I looked at the stack of documents in front of me. They're asking for the house. I expected that. They're asking for half my retirement. I expected that too. They're even claiming I abandoned the marriage." Olivia smiled faintly. "They expected you to panic. Instead, we filed a simple response. No accusations. No evidence. No drama. Just enough to keep the case moving." Claire grew confident. She began posting smiling photos online with carefully cropped captions about new beginnings and finally choosing happiness. Friends who didn't know the truth filled the comments with hearts and congratulations. Some relatives even sent me messages saying they hoped I would heal and move on. I answered none of them. Silence was becoming my greatest ally. 2 weeks later, the court scheduled mandatory financial disclosure. That was exactly what Olivia had been waiting for. During discovery, every bank account had to be disclosed under penalty of perjury. Claire submitted hers. So did her boyfriend, whose name I finally learned was Victor Lawson. Mark submitted his business records because he claimed the transfers were legitimate consulting payments. Olivia spent 3 days reviewing every page. Then she called me. "I found it." "What?" "The last mistake." I drove to her office immediately. She pointed at 3 spreadsheets displayed across her desk. "Look at these dates. The transfers from our joint account matched deposits into Mark's company. Hours later, nearly identical amounts were wired to Victor. Then large purchases appeared. Luxury vacations, designer furniture, a sports car, even the down payment on a downtown condominium. They used your money to build their future," I whispered. Olivia nodded. "And they reported several of those transfers as business expenses." "I don't understand." "They deducted stolen money from their taxes." I blinked. "They lied to the court. And to the tax authorities." For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then Olivia leaned back. "This case just became much bigger than divorce." The courtroom was quieter than I imagined. Claire walked in wearing an elegant cream-colored suit. Victor sat behind her. Mark avoided looking at me. For a brief moment I almost remembered the people I used to love. Then I remembered the recordings. "I hope you're doing okay," Claire whispered as we waited. I looked at her. "You seem happy." "I've found peace." I nodded. "I'm glad." She smiled with relief. She still believed I knew very little. The hearing began. Claire's attorney confidently described me as emotionally unstable after abandoning the marital home. He argued that Claire had been forced to protect their financial future. Then he requested that the court award her temporary possession of the house. The judge turned toward Olivia. "Counsel." Olivia stood. "Your Honor, before discussing temporary possession, we'd like permission to introduce recently authenticated financial evidence." Claire's smile disappeared. Olivia connected her laptop. The first exhibit appeared. A timeline. Every transfer. Every account. Every recipient. The courtroom became noticeably quieter. Next came the driveway security footage. Claire's attorney objected. The judge overruled him. Everyone watched Victor enter my house the evening I left. Then they watched Claire kiss him. Victor lowered his eyes. Claire's face turned pale. Olivia didn't stop. Next came enlarged copies of bank records. Highlighted. Color-coded. Easy for anyone to follow. "This," Olivia said, "shows marital assets being secretly diverted without my client's knowledge." She displayed another document. "And this demonstrates those same funds entering Mr. Lawson's personal accounts." Victor whispered something urgently to his attorney. Olivia continued. "Finally." She pressed one final key. The audio recording filled the courtroom. "I think the house is finally ours." Claire's own voice. Clear. Undeniable. Nobody moved. The judge removed his glasses. "Is this recording authentic?" "Yes, Your Honor." Claire's attorney slowly sat down. For the first time all morning he had nothing to say. But Olivia wasn't finished. She presented the appraisal, the blueprints, the messages discussing my signature. Then she submitted expert testimony proving several financial records had been intentionally falsified. Mark looked as though he might faint. Victor stared straight ahead. Claire silently cried. The judge recessed for an hour. When everyone returned, the atmosphere had completely changed. Instead of questioning me, the court questioned them. Every answer contradicted another. Every explanation created a new inconsistency. Finally, the judge spoke. Based on the evidence presented today, this court finds substantial indications of financial misconduct, concealment of marital assets, and fraudulent representations. Claire closed her eyes. The judge continued. Temporary possession of the marital residence is awarded to Ms. Hannah. Relief washed over me. But the next sentence surprised everyone. This matter is referred for additional investigation regarding possible civil and criminal financial violations. Victor's attorney buried his face in his hands. Mark nearly stumbled trying to sit down. Claire simply stared at me across the courtroom. There was no anger left in her expression, only regret. Weeks later, the divorce was finalized. I kept my home. Most of my savings were recovered through court orders and asset tracing. Mark lost his business after multiple clients withdrew their contracts. Victor faced years of expensive legal battles that consumed the fortune he had tried to build with my money. Claire accepted a settlement that was only a fraction of what she had expected. By the time every judgment and repayment order had been entered, she had almost nothing left. One rainy afternoon, nearly a year later, I found another envelope in my mailbox. There was no return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. Hannah, I kept convincing myself I wasn't hurting you. I told myself we had grown apart and that I deserved another life. Somewhere along the way, greed became easier than honesty. Every decision after that became another lie. I don't expect forgiveness. I only wanted you to know that losing everything wasn't the hardest punishment. Knowing I destroyed the one person who truly loved me was. Claire. I folded the letter carefully. Then I walked to the fireplace. I didn't burn it. I placed it in a small wooden box beside old photographs and faded anniversary cards. Not as a reminder of betrayal, but as proof that truth eventually catches up with people who spend their lives running from it. Later that evening, I sat on the porch with Nora and Daniel, watching the sun disappear behind the maple tree that had witnessed the beginning of the end. Nora smiled. Do you ever wish you'd gotten revenge sooner? I thought about the question for a long moment. If I'd chosen revenge first, I said quietly, I would have acted out of anger. And instead, I chose patience. Daniel laughed softly. Turns out patience had better lawyers. For the first time in years, we all laughed together. The house no longer felt like the place where my marriage had ended. It felt like the place where my life had finally begun again.